Asian and other peoples is not an anomaly. It is inherent to its nature and consistent with its genesis as the state protecting a social system rooted in colonial slavery. While the capitalist state is a coercive institution that sometimes mistreats, jails, and even shoots its European citizens who get caught in its friendly fire, its primary purpose is the violent suppression of the colonized population. As African internationalism has explained, white people function as part of the capitalist state in its treatment of Africans, Mexicans, the indigenous people, etc. Its true function as a colonial state is raw and exposed. The purpose of the U.S. state is to contain the other, quote, the colonial pedestal upon which all capitalist activity occurs and which benefits the entire colonizer population. I am going to end this shortly. This is why in all European-controlled countries, white citizens are generally united with efforts of the state to crush any form of African and colonial resistance. It is true that democracy is the form of the state. However, for the colonized, the pursuit of democracy is the struggle to limit and eliminate the intervention of the colonial state in their lives and affairs. This is why our party has raised the demand of Black community control of the police in the popular struggle against police murder in the US. This is why we have instituted numerous African people's tribunals to try and judge colonial aggression against our people, whether for reparations or police murders. Our pursuit of genuine freedom, which can only come about through the total liberation and unification of every square inch of Africa and African people worldwide. The African nation can only come about through revolution. By this, we mean that the colonialist capitalist state must be overthrown and the blight of the capitalist system eradicated from the face of the earth. History has proven that it is totally impossible to cajole the oppressor into turning power over to the dispossessed laboring masses upon which his system and future relies. Nor will the colonial capitalist state willingly surrender its authority as protector of the capitalist system through elections that it established and administers for the resolution of generally nonviolent struggle between competing sectors of the capitalist class for control of the system. There will be no exception for African people in the pursuit of power over our lives. We will have to fight for it. It is not simply a struggle with misguided people who are affiliated with an irrational hatred, who are afflicted with an irrational hatred or fear of African people. Massive fortunes and a parasitic way of life purchased through bloody conquest depend on this current arrangement, this status quo for their success and survival. It will, in the final analysis, take the force of arms to overcome the armed forces of the colonial capitalist state. It is the vicious armed forces of colonial white power that enables the ongoing domination of African people. All the petty bourgeois nonsense about a Willie Lynch syndrome is exposed in the face of the concrete reality of the armed to the teeth colonial state. Revolutionary armed struggle against colonialism and capitalism is the only thing that has ever brought any real semblance of liberation to oppressed peoples anywhere on earth. And there will be no exception for Africans. There is no correct religion, culture, or secret documents hidden from our access that once discovered can free us. Africans will have to assume full responsibility for our liberation by recognizing that revolution is the only solution, and that we are going to have to pursue revolution through the purifying, cleansing, exuberant process of organized, politically informed, unrelenting revolutionary violence. And this is not to say that we will not use other forms of struggle in the process of achieving liberation. We will. We will not desert the electoral path altogether. Whenever possible and necessary, we will take advantage of the democratic space available to our revolution. This is earned space everywhere it exists. It was not given to us. It was a result of bloody, life-threatening anti-colonial mass mobilization from Kenya to Ghana, from Congo to South Africa, all the way to Mississippi, USA. The bourgeois electoral process was created as an institution for nonviolent struggle between contending sectors of the ruling class for control of the state to their profit-making advantage. Nothing more. It is not designed to overthrow the system. It is one of the methods employed to protect the system by providing the means for competing capitalists to fight it out without threatening the stability of the existence of the system itself. Because it was established to address the interests of the ruling class, organized independent revolutionary workers can assess the electoral process and make use of this quote-unquote legitimate expression of political activity to take our program before masses of our people, normally beyond our reach. It also denies the African neo-colonial petty bourgeoisie forces a monopoly in this generally sanitized political arena. We should use this electoral process institution when possible and tactically appropriate, not as a revolutionary solution, but as a platform to achieve a revolutionary solution. Our party has done this in the past, and we should prepare to do it again. When we have utilized the electoral process in the past, it has been as an afterthought, something decided on at the moment because of specific, special prevailing circumstances. Now, comrades, we must add the electoral process to our arsenal of weapons to forward the revolution. We must become experts at using the electoral process to advance our revolutionary objectives. Our revolution must concern itself with the capture of quantifiable ideological, political, and organizational territory. This is something that even the most politically unsophisticated street organization or gang understands better than most revolutionary pretenders. We must control turf, deciding who can penetrate our perimeter, what they can do, and when and how they may do it. The electoral process can provide us with one of the assortments of methods we use to claim turf. It can also allow us to capture the loyalty and political participation from a sector of the colonized African community for whom electoral politics has been the entry into political life and who has been denied other forms of political struggle for more than 2 generations. The electoral process can also provide us the vehicle for allowing those Africans for whom it is necessary the ability to learn from experience that the colonialist capitalist ruling class is unwilling to peacefully relinquish power to the oppressed. We must begin the process of grooming hardcore, highly committed, ideologically sound revolutionaries from within our ranks to participate in the elections while also providing ideological and political influence over popular masses from within the colony who may involve themselves in elections. Our party's mass work has already influenced the development of a revolutionary national democratic program that informed most electoral work, whether by our party, movement, or the national democratic sector of the population at large. This can be part of our overall ongoing fight to undermine the influence of colonial and neo-colonial power through acquiring dual power on every front. Strategic utilization of the electoral process can win support for our anti-colonial economic institution. It can undermine the authority of the ruling class when their representatives are faced with the impossible task of publicly defending colonial authority from the ideological and political assaults delivered by our party, movement, and the anti-colonial representatives of the people at large. Our party must move to institutionalize a committee of cadre dedicated to electoral work on an ongoing basis. This committee will keep the ruling class and state on the back foot, precisely because the electoral system was created for servants of colonial capitalism will not be prepared for a non-opportunistic anti-colonial revolutionary African working class competition in its own arena. Our mass work with the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations will also facilitate our electoral work. The coalition has provided the only mass-based opposition to the 2 major ruling class parties in the U.S. Through the work of the coalition, our party has been able to contend with the corrosive impact of neo-colonial opportunist political and ideological surrender of our struggle by bourgeois-supported and created hustlers. We have been able to advance the general struggle for African self-determination, something that has been off the radar of our movement since the defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s. The coalition has hosted a series of statewide and national conferences and events designed to win mass support for self-determination. Within days of this plenary, the coalition is sponsoring a national rally for Black self-determination in the imperialist capital of Washington, D.C. There are different approaches to the electoral system within the coalition. The important thing is that they are, most of them, anti-colonial approaches, and all are committed to promoting the national Black political agenda for self-determination that has been vetted by the popular process embracing thousands of African people. Strategic participation within the electoral process also helps our party members refine our message. Since convincing our community to vote their unity with our program is key to our success in this arena, it becomes incumbent on party members to speak concisely and fittingly toward that end. Reckless, empty rhetoric will not suffice. In 1989, I made a presentation at a mass meeting in Oakland, California, that was later included in a book published by our party titled Black Power Since the 60s. The book contained a number of polemics concerning the ideological weaknesses of the overall African anti-colonial movement centered in the US and questioned the fidelity of our movement to revolutionary principles and conclusions. 28 years later, the African People's Socialist Party reaffirms our commitment to revolution as the only way to attain our liberation and unification as a nation. The 1989 presentation was titled, "The Revolutionary Party is the Vehicle for Making the Revolution." And I want to quote a relevant excerpt from that presentation. We want to have a revolution. We can't get out of this without revolution. If we're going to have revolution, then we have to have a particular kind of organization. We can't have an organization like the Boy Scouts, for example. We can't have an organization like the Glee Club. We can't have organizations like the Democrats or Republicans. You have to have a special kind of organization. It's got to be a revolutionary organization to make a revolution. Guess what else you need? You need revolutionaries. You need men and women who are organized around certain principles. Those principles under the leadership of a revolutionary organization subordinates every question, every other question to the revolution. Every question is subordinate to the revolution. Every question. What is the vehicle for making the revolution? The Revolutionary Party is the vehicle for making the revolution. Every effort, therefore, is to strengthen the Revolutionary Party. Every effort is for the Revolutionary Party to become the leadership of the masses around every question. Every question must be subordinate to the revolution. There must be an organization of men and women whose profession is revolution. They may be plumbers. They may be school teachers. They might have any other kind of occupation, but their profession is revolution. So when they plumb in a revolutionary fashion and in a way that promotes the revolution. And when they teach in a way that promotes the revolution. They organize on the job wherever they are for the purpose of the revolution. Every question is subordinate. There's not a single question that can be free of the question of making the revolution. Now, the Glee Club is not like that. Neither is the Boy Scouts, nor the Democratic Party, unquote. Ideological weaknesses has allowed much of the world to succumb to the ideas that imperialism is a permanent feature of the world that must somehow be worked around or maneuvered to accommodate the interests of the worker of the world's peoples. We know differently. There can be no peaceful coexistence between avaricious, predatory imperialism and Africa's and other colonized people whose oppressive exploitation is the very lifeblood of imperialism. Imperialism must die. It must be destroyed. And revolution is the only means of bringing this reality into being. The existing imperialist popular cultural expression of vampires and zombies is a reflection of nervousness of a superstructure of decadence resting on a tectonic change occurring within an economic base of capitalism resting on colonial resistance. What this imperialist popular culture reflects is the reality of a dying but not dead imperialism. Walking dead, is that what they call it? Our party, shoulders in hand, torches firmly in hand, are among the grave diggers that will torch and slay this monster and forever liberate ourselves and the world from this monstrosity. Comrades, our work is laid out for us, and this period of imperialism provides us with the greatest opportunity ever for building and completing the African Revolution. Everything about Americanism is in disarray. There is no longer an ideological anchor to imperialism. The African People's Socialist Party has a glorious history of 45 years of struggle. We are the only African revolutionary organization out there. We have never compromised. We have the political line of African internationalism, the strategy, and the organization to win. We have solved the question of the white people and how the unity of oppressed peoples around the world. It is up to every party member everywhere in the world to bolster our stance and increase our commitment to be leaders and cadre to seize the time and usher in the unification and liberation of Africa under the leadership of the African working class and the return of our stolen resources. We are winning. I didn't know it was going to take this long. And I really appreciate your patience, and I appreciate Carmen Liu, who's in this very difficult position of keep sticking the sign in my face and me ignoring it, kinda. But this is the political report. Do we have time for some kind of discussion? Yes. Okay, great, great. So, Uhuru.
Uhuru, comrades.
Uhuru.
All right, so I know you guys are all burning with questions, and we have them, the answers that I mean. We have about 30 minutes to take any questions, and you'll come up to this mic right here, say your name, ask your question, goes on from there. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Oh, we were using that when I was talking? Oh, okay. Where'd you get that shirt, Kabula?
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Hi, I'm Fofi from St. Louis.
Foots.
Cousin. I just want to thank you for answering the burning question I've had for about a year and a half. What will freedom look like?
Yeah, right. Uhuru.
Now I can spread the word with confidence, and if they need something else, I can show them that report.
Right on.
This is what freedom looks like.
Uhuru.
And if you want a piece of it,
Right on.
join.
Right on.
Uhuru.
Hello, I am Margarita Quintero from Chile.
Today.
Yeah, I don't know if I was sleeping in the moment you were talking about or not, but I want to ask you about boycott. As like consumer to the companies, to the transnational companies that sell us their products, and you're putting our money that, for me, I am economist, and I think that each of our dollar is a vote. And it's my aspiration to my people vote for the right product and don't put it in the pocket of these companies that kill our environment and our health, and our kids are growing with bad things in their bodies and their mind. I would like to, we can boycott them and don't buy products that are against our ideas.
Yeah. The boycotts have been useful tactics used in the struggle. Historically, boycotts have been useful tactics. And in the final analysis, though, what we have to be clear about is even when we engage in boycotting, we still got the same system. And I think that in Chile, we saw extraordinary struggles, especially in the late 60s, early 1970s, you know, of the people in Chile who actually thought they had achieved independence and power with the election of Salvador Allende. And of course, Kissinger and the US government murdered him and put this butcher in charge in Chile. But that was moving on the right trajectory, because to change the whole system, even if you do boycotts, you still got the same system in place. And that system, no matter how much you boycott it, if that system is there, the basis of that system is profit. Well, you're an economist. It's profit, and everything is motivated by profit. So you can have some boycotts, and you might have a little something over here, a little something over there. But the nature of the capitalist system is exploitation, taking profit. And so even if we boycott to hurt them, and I think that can be a useful weapon on the one hand, but the boycott needs to be a part of a tactic that's taking us beyond boycott and to the pursuit of actually capturing political power. So I think boycotts, and that's something that our movement has used a lot, the boycott, and it's something that can be used, and we can win certain kinds of concessions sometimes with boycotts, but we have to say that we're going beyond boycott. It needs to be a tactic that's going to take us to actually capturing political power so that the system is no longer one based on exploitation. Uhuru. Yeah. And there have been selective. In fact, the boycott was so significant in Mississippi, the NAACP initiated a boycott and against some white store owner or something, and the store owner successfully sued the NAACP, won the suit. And that's why you don't hear them talk about boycotting anymore. They call it selective buying and stuff like that, because capitalism reigns supreme here. And you can't say we're going to get together and hurt some capitalists. You can't say it right up front. So you learn how to speak a certain way. I don't know if anybody in this room is familiar with that case, but they actually lost the suit, and they lost their office. They had to give their office to this white reactionary, etc., because of that suit. So they can't even say boycott. And I don't know how the law is with that, but the basic point I'm making, boycotts can be effective. We can make things happen with boycott, but boycotts have to be a tactic taking us beyond just the boycott. Because you'll be boycotting forever. There's boycotting, all over the place. The thing is, the system itself has to be overturned. Uhuru. Unique. Uhuru, comrade.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that was the most bold and visionary document I've ever read. By the most bold and visionary leadership within the most bold and visionary party I've ever read. So, I want to find out what we can do to make sure we can carry out this vision. So in the first part of the presentation, you talked about the manuals. And so I'm real interested in, and I truly don't know this because I haven't been around long enough, but if you feel we can do more things in terms of the division of labor to make things happen, whether there's a process flow within the manuals and processes and between them. And if any kind of process work needs to be looked at and done to make sure that we can operate more efficiently and increase our ability to divide the labor in an efficient way.
Yeah, I think some of that, the party is structured based on a certain kind of division of labor. So we, move toward creating actual experts in certain areas. So that's one thing. But another thing that we're engaged in right now that we sort of touched on lightly is bringing more cadre into the party. Our party is growing rapidly. We've had, K-Fin can tell you, it was a dry spell for 2 generations. We've been waiting for you, Unique, to get here. And there are hundreds of other people coming into the party. And much of what we've been doing is filling out our infrastructure and stuff like that in the party. That's why most of the recruitment is directed from the national leadership. And we're not doing as much recruitment as we should be doing in our structures. That's why we don't have many as many organizations on the ground in different places, local organizations. That's why we're talking about having offices and stuff like that. And so I think the division of labor is going to unfold. This is the last plenary we'll have before our Congress in 2018. But this year is going to be a year of even more rapid growth and bringing in more people. We need specialized skills to take on certain aspects of this work. And that's not the easiest thing to accomplish, because just having skills doesn't mean that they're going to work for the revolution. Everybody comes into this party with their own understanding of what the world should look like. They're not African internationalists when they get here. We have to make African internationalists. We have to create cadre. And so that we have people who can do all these wonderful things, but they need to do wonderful things for the revolution. And that's the thing, the training process. So we're bringing in more and more people, and you will see the division of labor begin to reveal itself, much more professionally. And we'll have people who can take on various tasks, because I need more people on the ground. I need armies of people selling the burning spear door to door. That's and on the streets. That's the day-to-day work that every member of the party should be involved in. And it's not just good that the people get this, but it's good for the person selling the spear, because our own political development comes as a consequence of having to explain what's in this damn newspaper. And also the courage of the people is enhanced. I can't tell you how the people feel to see you, even if they don't buy the newspaper from you. But if every day they come through and they see Africans out there, young men and women and old men and women out there selling that newspaper, there's a sense of pride and confidence that they have. And that's another thing that we have to create. But yeah, in terms of organization, the creation of a much more effective and better defined division of labor, that's a critical thing that we have to develop. And again, right now, it's in infrastructure as much of what it is we are building right now. You will see in this period, in 2017, we're going to have armies of forces coming into the party. And some of you who just got here are going to find yourselves having to train people who just going to be coming in by the truckloads. And that's why every Sunday morning, that's why I'm doing the political education, what have you, so that you can be prepared for these forces who are going to be coming in, because you're going to have to train them and make them what they need to be, but you got to be trained first, right? So that we build the party. So yeah, that's a brilliant and most important observation that you just made, Unique, about bringing science to the process. That's who we are, not just a bunch of emotional people, even though I'm very passionate about this question, but bringing science and organization. Uhuru.
Oh, Conrad.
Uhuru.
Let me just say, yes, we are winning. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and
I know you're from St. Louis, Missouri, because after a while you're going to say.
But my concern is, state of Missouri just mandated a law, and it's been a concern of mine because I have 5 sons.
Mm-hmm.
The law states, and it was mandated January 1st, 2017, that any child of any age group, any grade, that it's involved in a fight at school, from the school automatically goes to jail on a Class C felony. Now, my question is this. Oh, let me repeat that. Any child, any age, any grade level in the state of Missouri. So you can be 5 arguing over crayon, get in a fight with the 5-year-old next to you. You are issued a Class E felony, even though you don't know the difference. You don't know the difference. So my question is, as a mom, as a Black African woman, and as a revolutionary, how do we even approach a struggle like that? Because all I feel, all of my thoughts are subjective, because it's personal to me, but I know I can't be subjective. So if people even ask me, how do I answer that? Because people always ask me questions. They know I'm with the movement.
Mm-hmm.
How do I even answer someone who is arguing that point and want to be violent about it and want to go upon that struggle the wrong way? How do we approach it?
What's the wrong way they're going to go about it?
I mean, I can't really say, so, like you just say, you don't want to just go to the capitalism and just go fighting them and shooting at them, but how do you overturn that struggle?
You tell them to wait until we get better organized.
There has already been 15 cases in the state of Missouri. 3 of them a child of 9 years old. There was 1 9-year-old. They were issued. I looked into it. I don't know if it was a rumor or what, but I looked into it, and there are already 9 cases where they are arrested. These kids are getting arrested and sent to jail as little kids on Class E felonies.
Yeah, that's going to take political organizing and agitation in our communities and bringing people into organization, because you're right. You're right. Most people are going to be handling this question as individuals because they're not in organization. So it's going to be a critical question. I mean, that's one of the things that we could even begin to do propaganda around, depending on what our capacity is in St. Louis at this moment, because I know you have to establish organizational tasks for yourselves, so I'm not trying to preempt anything that you might have to do as an organization in St. Louis, but at the moment you begin to approach this question, you're going to have to do propaganda around this question. You're going to have to do flyers. You're going to, of your own. You got to have it in the Burning Spin newspaper that you're selling. And people need to be made to understand what this issue is all about. Because most people, and the thing about an issue like this, it is something that people will be passionate about. It's something that people will pay attention to. So when you begin to address this issue, it's some people will read the whole article that you write about this. And the thing is that you want to be able to bring people into organization, have conferences and meetings to discuss this, and then to say what strategies we are going to use, and bring world attention to this, and have demonstrations and other kinds of things, snatch children out of school, cripple the whole school system by having walkouts because they lose money every time there are absentees. Bring everybody out of the school, crush it down, have regular kinds of walkouts and things like that, you know. Those, and when the community to understanding of the significance of this issue, you can do that all over Missouri, you know, and that's part of what it is that we should be doing. And but again, like I'm saying, that I know that there's work that you have to do in terms of building ourselves organizationally, you know, there in St. Louis and in Missouri, and getting our building and doing all other kinds of stuff to get a solid foundation. But even that kind of work is something that can bring people into organization and help us to do the other stuff that we have to do. But just in terms of tactics, that's some of what has to happen. And we have to remember that the greatest asset that we should have is the people. And that's why the people have to be informed and educated around this question. Propaganda among the masses of the people, having mass meetings and stuff like that, and let people come and talk about how they feel about it, and talk about what we have to do to get organized around. And when you bring people to meetings, already have a structure of what it is that you want to do, what roles you want people to play, and see, you know, and take advantage. That's what you call agitation. They're agitating it for us. So we need to do agitational stuff and bring people into organization. Uhuru. Me can't believe it. Is that
Uhuru, Chairman.
Uhuru Kabula?
I'm Kabula Mutombo from Chicago. I have a question about what your comments in the report are on revolutionary culture and helping to establish that and defining what it is. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yeah. Let me just say that if you're a slave, right, then revolutionary culture is culture that tells you to kill the slave master and overturn the system of slavery. Yeah. That's the only thing. Lighting candles and remembering the 7 principles of this and that, having a Black Christmas is not revolutionary culture. I mean, you know, I think it was Emory Douglas, when he used to be a revolutionary, I think he made the point that it is the responsibility of the revolutionary artists to win the people to killing the oppressor. And revolutionary culture is something that we've seen manifest itself, but it comes at high tides of revolution. Revolutionists help to create that. What we see expressed in this meeting, that what we are singing about, I don't know if you understand that part in the fighting anthem. What is it? Oh, look at it. It means, that's what it means. It means cut their heads off and burn their houses. You understand? And that was a slogan from Dessalines, who was the revolutionary that told Toussaint not to get on that ship with them white people, you know, and that's revolutionary culture. And, you know, you saw certain expressions of what was almost revolutionary culture during the 1960s. I mean, that's when it was really kicking. And after the defeat of the revolution, Aretha Franklin, who was singing freedom, remember the song Freedom, Aretha Franklin? And then she ended up singing Who's Zooming Who? You know, and revolutionary culture, that was where the Isley Brothers were saying, fight the power, fight the power. Then it wasn't because the Isley Brothers and Aretha Franklin was so hip. It was because the revolution on the ground was changing circumstances. That's what influenced the culture. You want revolutionary culture, build revolutionary movement, build revolutionary organization. We'll see culture expressing itself in that fashion. And revolutionary culture should be something that comes as a consequence of Black Power 96.3, also, because then, and if you listen to it, I'm just surprised how affected I am by listening to Black Power 96.3, because, all day you hear some shot, you get a shot of something, you hear Malcolm X, you hear Huey P. Newton, you hear Stokely Carmichael, you hear, a speech that I've made, you hear some revolutionary music, or attempt to have revolutionary music. And this stuff is going on all day, all the time. And you say also there's an economic incentive, because if you want to be a rap star, you want your music heard, you can have your music heard on Black Power 96, but you're going to have to change it. You're going to have to change it. Because that's what happens to our culture worker. They work for the capitalist colonialists. They don't necessarily want to, but that's the only way you can get your stuff heard. You gotta be saying bad things about African women. Yeah, dumb it down. And so we offer other avenues, and the popularity of Black Power 96 will infect other radio stations that want to win the people who are listening to us. They're gonna have to change their stuff too, and African artists who want to have their stuff played. So revolutionary culture will come as a consequence of revolutionaries. We change the situation on the ground, the culture will follow it. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman.
Uhuru, come in.
First of all, I really, really appreciate the political report. And I think the whole piece around the party's economics is so, so key. Just being a party for 7 years. Mm-hmm. Economics is key to all of our work. And I want to really help newer comrades to really understand that whole piece around what the department, that DC owner department does, and what we have to be doing on the ground in our own regions and in our branches, is that we constantly have to be thinking about resources. Because if we want to, it's a struggle for half of people in this room to get to St. Petersburg for on a bus or whatever, on a train, and that it's our responsibility throughout the year to always be coming up with economic development opportunities, so that when it comes time to do a major event like this, we got it already. And I just really appreciate this piece, because when you say the political and the economics is or one, that really is key. That if we are ever going to be free from capitalism and the colonial exploitation of our labor and our resources, that we have to be always thinking about building our own. And that's what this room represents right now.
It does.
Is that even annual, we have to sell some shea butter because we got to pay for the stuff that we got to do. And what I often find is that when people come into the work, new people, they're like, well, well, doesn't the headquarters give y'all money? I'm like, no. We got to organize and fundraise, just like every institution, every branch has to be economically self-dependent. Because if they cut off the headquarters, then all of the rest of our work will fall apart if it all came from that. So we have to always be finding and building. And so I think that piece is so real, especially if we're saying that we want to be free and be able to build on our own. If none of us know how to fundraise or do any economic development projects, then we out here cold and blind. If we in freedom, what we gonna do? And so this is training us right now, and I really appreciate that piece in the book.
Listen, this economic work has historically been a part of the culture of the party. On every week, the party did two things wherever we were organized. Political education was going to happen once a week. People going to come and participate in political education. The other thing is there's going to be a fundraiser, as we call it. We're going to sell fish sandwiches. We're going to sell dinners. We're going, if in this city, we used to go to the orange groves and collectively pick oranges to raise money. We did car washes. We did all these other kinds of things. That's why it's going to be so important also to open up an office. And you're going to have to pay for the office to be run. You're going to have to do car washes. You're going to have to do the things like the churches do, right? To raise money to make that happen. Has to be a culture, an ongoing process of getting the resources necessary for us to function. That's what makes us independent, self-reliant. And then, of course, there are going to be programs that come from the national office that can train people and help to establish other kind of economic development enterprises. But even before that happens, even as that's going on, there's nothing stopping nobody in here from having a car wash except the cold weather in Washington, D.C. Selling dinners, selling fish sandwiches. We did this on a regular basis all the time. All the time we did this. And that's what we have to be armed to do. We are self-reliant. We hate dependency. We don't ever want to be a dependent people again. We take care of ourselves. That's the thing that we have to begin to integrate. Uhuru. Is there anything else, comrade? Anybody want to speak to the political report at all? At all? Uhuru.
No, we're out of time. So, that was the last session.
Oh, yeah, well, what was the question?
That she wants to raise something. Last person. Come on, Kalambai. Okay, come on, Kalambai. Uhuru. Uhuru.
Okay. Uhuru. My name is Kalambai, and I am the international president of Impedom. And
Yeah.
And I really want to appreciate the report. Like, I truly appreciate the report, and all of it. But the part that speaks to me is Impedom, of course, because that's
what happened when the report came out. What people did was grab it and read the part that had to do with it.
I'm not going to deny that. I would not deny that. But I had a lot of time to reflect on that part and to really, dig deep. You know what I'm saying? Because my question, what keeps me up late at night, is how to move Impedom forward. And I think that the report really, this is my third plenary. And this is, the beginning of my political life 3 years ago. And I just see how, like, every report, how it's not talked, but we come here and we have these reports, and then we come back and I see the growth and the development. And I'm very excited about Impedom and the manuals, and I unite with that. And I think I don't know if you just figure this out. Like, if you say this, the whole thing of me being like, saying stuff or doing stuff, but what is that, and really taking Impedom to the next level. So, Impedom is what met me at the door, and these manuals is like so important to like really grasp. And the IEC know that I just been really fighting for it. But before I got to that point, I think I was real subjective, and I really appreciate Deputy Chair, because she fight fiercely. And I think the chairman said, like, sometimes you would think she didn't even like you or something, the way she fight, you know what I'm saying? But she want to make revolution. And I really appreciate that struggle and how she came in and not just fight politically for economic, but she came in, she fought for the process for the party, and understanding that the manuals is what we need to use to really move the work forward, because it gives us a guide on exactly how to do exactly what Tyra was saying. Because she asked me that question, you know what I'm saying? And I was telling her, and it was funny because she'll tell you, well, she didn't say it, but what you said to her, I told her. Exactly what you told her is that, that's what we have to do. And I really, because we could be emotional about stuff that's happening, you know what I'm saying, in our community, because we slaves and we colonized. But beyond that, we have to really understand that these manuals and the discipline and the sacrifice that one must make to really govern themselves by these manuals is key.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to the Congress,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, where I walk in there and be able to say we mastered that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just really appreciate the report in a real way.
Dorothy. Yeah.
This will be great. And you don't have to have a lengthy answer.
Okay.
I just wanted to speak to the problem of feminism, white feminism. I'm going to assure the African women in here that this isn't limited to them, because I myself did not like seeing the male of the species as the enemy. And they definitely did. They did. I like to say that I was kicked out of the feminist movement because too much fraternization with the enemy. But actually, I walked out on my own speed because I just couldn't stand listening to a diatribe against men. Now, my own husband was something of a male chauvinist. But we were both 17 when we got married. And within maybe 10, 15 years, he changed his mind.
You tamed
because
him.
I was right and he was wrong. And he wasn't stupid. So I won that. I used to lose the battles, but I won the war.
Right on.
So just a comment.
Oh, no. Thank you so much, Comrade.
And thank you for your speech. I was very much moved and inspired by you.
Thank you. I hope that people were able, more than anything, to see the benefit of the political report. And the plenary. It's that which keeps us grounded and moving in some direction toward some objective, as opposed to just being swinging with every event that happens. And I think that the political report to the 7th Congress, is going to really deal with some questions. In this political report, we dealt with some issues that we have not dealt with. Some of them we extended the discussion. We elaborated on some issues. And this time we also addressed some things that we haven't talked about before, like revolutionary violence, that I felt was really important to have that discussion. I saw a documentary of Fidel Castro since his death. And in this documentary, Fidel was an old man, and he was talking about how what moving society forward was not going to take necessarily like what the Bolsheviks did or the Russians did, that revolution, or the way that they did it in Cuba. He said something that infers that there's going to be a way we can sort of negotiate this thing and without having to fight. And the reality is that if we look around the world, nobody's talking about revolution anymore. They haven't been talking about revolution for a long time. Even with what Hugo Chavez was doing in Venezuela, there was no discussion about revolution. They talked about what they call socialism. Even Cubans, and they don't talk about revolution. The Cubans, as you know, were some of the most serious revolutionary forces in history and did such incredible work. But they don't understand why the socialist revolution failed. That's what African internationalism teaches us, that the actual material conditions, the objective conditions for the advent of socialism did not really exist. So the political conditions for socialists to seize power existed in certain places. So socialists seized power, but they couldn't make socialism happen. The reason they couldn't make socialism happen is because the world economy continued to be a capitalist world economy. Cuba existed in a world economy that was capitalist. As long as they got some help from the Soviet Union, they were able to make some things happen. But the Soviet Union existed in a world economy that was capitalist. And the capitalist class internationally isolated the Soviet Union, kept it from participating in the world economy effectively. And so the Soviet Union ran into its limitations and boom, imploded. And you will see that has been the situation, but we understand that. And we understand that in order for socialism to occur, the pedestal that Marx talked about, upon which all socialist activity occurs, which is slavery and colonialism, must be destroyed. And for the first time in human history, we're at a place where the main trend in the world against colonialism, which creates the conditions finally The historical basis for the advent of socialism is upon us. But socialism is not going to come just because we ask for it. We are not going to be able to negotiate our way. The capitalists, we're going to say, look, capitalists, we know everything you got relies on sucking our blood and the blood of the people in the world. Okay, let's negotiate an end to this relation. They don't cut their own throat for us. They're going to have to be beaten. They're going to have to be crushed. They're going to have to be wiped out and the system overturned. And that will give basis, that will allow for the socialism, that the slave can now come into power. And the thing about the African Revolution that's so critical, because it happens all over Africa. That's 1 billion people by itself. It happens in South America. It happens throughout the Caribbean. It happens here in the so-called United States. It happens, it's impacting on Europe. Every place all around the world, this African internationalist revolution will shatter the whole capitalist system all around the world and set the terms for a new social system. It will become the defining economic system in the world. Most of the countries in the world do not have what is easily referred to or identified as capitalist production. They live in poor places where there is no industry or very little industry and what have you. But what defines the world economy is not what the majority of the people in the world are doing. It's what a minority are doing in Europe, North America, and now increasingly in some places like China and Japan. That is the defining world economy, is a capitalist world economy, even though the majority of the people are not voluntarily participating in it. The African Revolution, overturning this and going for itself, will become the defining world economy. The socialism that's created by Africa will become the defining world economy. And all of the other economic activities will have to find itself aligning with the African socialist revolution in order to survive and to prosper. We have an incredible task ahead of us, and I am extraordinarily excited, about the future. And the future belongs to us. It belongs to the oppressed of the world. And we just have to have enough confidence in our ability to take this on. A man named C.L.R. James, who most people in this room never heard of, but was a really important guy. You might know of him, Elikia. He wrote a great book on the Haitian Revolution, Black Jacobins. But he made a statement. I heard him make a statement in London, England. He said that the future is in the hands of the African working class. Unfortunately, it is not in the heads of the African working class. So it's our responsibility to put it in the heads of the African working class. Uhuru, brothers and sisters, come back.
We are winning! We are winning! We are winning! We are winning! Uhuru! Excellent political report. I'm so happy that we were able to get through all of it and the discussion that we had. It's been a very powerful day, comrades, and it's just the beginning of this entire plenary that we have. And we are about to break for Karamu. And I just wanted to say that, the Karamu team really put their foot and hard work into making sure that every one of you guys could get fed. And I want to also say that your money can't go to anything better than what those people prepared for you in there. So don't go out to Salem's, who is going to feed you bullcrap. And we pledged to put nutrients in our body and stuff that wasn't going to harm us. So you need to go in that kitchen and put your money back into the African Revolution and get your dinner right here at the Uhuru House that your comrades prepared for you. So I just wanted to make that clear. Don't go down the street. Don't go down anywhere. Half y'all don't even know where y'all going when y'all leave here. So don't leave here. You better spend your money here. Uhuru. All right. So also to all my NCC members, we need new photos of you all for the burning spear. So Sen is going to meet you guys at the African the wall with the African mask, so you guys can take your new photos for the spear. Yes. Right. Well, when we break for Karamu. Yes. Yes. Okay. And then so Karamu is until 7. Kalonda, 7:30? Or 7:40? 7:30? 7:30. All right, so camera is going to be until 7:30. We're going to meet back here, and the chairman's going to sum up the day, and we'll have a couple of announcements of what's going to be happening tomorrow. So please stick around, come back after dinner, and make sure you are eating dinner from your comrades down this hallway. Uhuru.
Uhuru, comrades. The same process as earlier today for lunch. NCC Chairman Security, if you'll move out, please, so you can eat. Spaghetti. That's right, pasta. Yes, go to the back door. Those with the red star. Red star. If you haven't paid for your meals, if you did not pay for dinner, you need to see Janice and get a ticket for dinner. You need to pay her and Uhuru, comrades, we're using the same process as we did for lunch, which means you will go through this back door. What? Okay, we'll open the office door. So you'll go through the office. Those with the red star means you've paid for all of your meals. If you have not paid for your meals, you need to see Janice, pay for your dinner, get a ticket, and we will follow. You'll go through the back door, through the office, come around to the food, and back either into the conference room or this area to eat. Uhuru.
Can I do you a favor and test the model? I really like these lights. And then we'll try that again. It's just the lights, unless when we take the photos, we can do that thing again. Stream the lights. Those? Yeah.